Did he say we're live?
Yep.
Hi, everybody.
We're getting
How
started.
can you tell that we're live?
Because it says live in the corner, that little red
Oh,
square.
Don't judge me, okay? Get it together.
So I'll start and
Yeah.
then, how do y'all want to do it? I'll start it and then you.
Yep.
Okay.
I know they sing on IT.
You we good to go?
You're going there asking questions.
Who's actually starting to speak?
I'm going to start it. And then it'll be her and then her.
Okay. I'm gonna have the volume off. I'm gonna say we're starting in 3, just count and start. Now put the volume up so they won't.
Wait, say that one more time. You're going to have the volume off and then.
Right, so they don't hear me talking on the.
Okay.
They'll hear me now, but.
Yes.
But, over here, I'm just gonna say we're starting in 3,
Gotcha.
and then I turn it up so they don't hear that.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I should have probably.
There you go.
put it
Starting
here.
in 3.
Thank you all so much for joining in with us on today. I'm Candy.
I'm Courtney. I'm Kendra Michelle.
And welcome to
Shabby Caddies. Hello, ladies.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Good. I'm great.
Awesome. So today we have some juicy stuff
Yes, we do.
to discuss. So it's a very serious topic,
Yeah.
but it's also real juicy. I would say juicy. I don't know. It's a,
It's a topic.
It is. It's a very good topic. So today's topic is light skin versus dark skin.
That's a good topic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Now, I did a lot of research on this, and the way it got started was from slavery.
Right.
They had it where if you were light skinned, they showed you special treatment in terms of if you have to do any work, you would work indoors, and then if you were darker skinned, you would work outdoors in the hot sun. And I felt as though some people today feel as if you're dark skinned, you're more of a threat. I never really, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm comfortable with my skin.
Right.
I have no problems with the color that I am. I never, said, oh, I wish I was light skinned, or I wish I was light. I just never thought like that,
Right.
But what do you ladies think about the whole light skin versus dark skin?
Same thing. Growing up, my mom's dark skin. It's so weird because my mother's light. Her sister's all light, and she was the darkest. So she was kind of like the black sheep of the family because she was dark. But I remember I was like maybe like 3rd grade or something, and I remember saying like, "Mom, you're not pretty," because at that time in the 80s, like at that time, blacks weren't really on magazine covers, and if you weren't light skinned, you definitely weren't going to be on a cover of a magazine. So I didn't see a lot of darker women being advertised and promoted as beautiful or attractive, things like that. So growing up, I kind of questioned like, am I pretty? Because dark wasn't the thing. But then I remember my mom telling me, she's like, one day you're gonna grow up and you're gonna love the skin and the body you're in. And I was like, okay, when you're 9 years old, you're just like, okay. But as I got older, then things kind of changed. I remember being on the cheerleading team in high school. It was two of us, me and a girlfriend of mine named Erica. It was always about us being dark. Y'all dark this, y'all black this. Oh, you're pretty to be dark. Or, it was always like a compliment and an insult, you know what I'm saying? Like as if you couldn't be dark and pretty, you had to be dark and ugly and light and pretty. Because we would get that a lot. Like people say, oh, you're pretty with your dark self or your black self. Or you look black. It was always something attached to our complexion. And I guess that was just the world we live in where people pursue light as better, dark is not as good. But it's just something I kind of grew up with. And then eventually I think the trends kind of changed. Now I don't think it's so much as light, dark. I think black women in all colors are now, you see them all over, the light ones, the dark ones, the really dark ones. I think all women are now promoted as beautiful, so they don't have the complex as much, but it was something that I definitely experienced just growing up with the light, dark skin.
And it's funny that you say that because I guess my mindset was just different. I never really, I went to the university that I graduated from. There was a class I was in where I was the only black person in the classroom. And I graduated out of that class with honors. I didn't feel weird about it. I didn't feel discouraged about it. I was proud to be, the only African American woman in that class to graduate with honors. Some thought that I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, I never, wanted I never cared about being light skinned. I was just comfortable with the color that God blessed me with.
Right.
I never felt like, oh, well, she white. If she's light skinned, she's prettier, or she's light skinned, she gets to do this more, do that more. Or, you know, I just never, you know, thought that way.
I feel like I really do not like that term, like, oh, you're pretty for a dark skin. And I feel like that implies that you're not supposed to be pretty if you're dark skinned. So that really bothers me. When I was younger, I have relatives that are both dark skinned, light skinned, you know, all shades. And we never had that stigma. But looking back, I see those, you know, those comments. Oh, you're such a pretty dark skinned girl. You're such a, and I don't think people intentionally meant it to be a negative thing, but it was a negative thing. You know what I mean? Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what frustrates me about that. And I think even now, darker skinned women are put in the forefront, but I think it's still a negative connotation behind it. You know, it's like, oh, dark skin is in, like, when was it out? You know what I mean? You know, I understand it's beautiful, but like the fact that you're sensationalizing it makes it seem like it wasn't at one point.
Exactly.
You know, when that's not the case, you know? So I never had that whole thing where, oh, I thought if somebody was lighter skinned, they were prettier. But I do know that I have cousins and relatives that felt that, and I didn't know they felt that until we all got older and realized what we were sitting in, you know? Because when you're younger, you don't think about that. You know, you don't realize, like, oh, the stigma is placed on me, and I don't know why I don't feel as pretty as I should feel until you get older. And that's what sucks about it, because I don't think people intentionally try to make people feel less than somebody else. I just think they're trying to uplift somebody, and because it's gone back to slavery days, that's just how we think we're supposed to do it. You know?
Exactly. No, I totally agree.
It's really sad.
You know, what bothers me is that some people feel as though in order to have beautiful children, their children should have to be mixed.
Yep.
Have pretty hair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Being African American or black, our hair is coarse, it's thick. You know what I'm saying? But some people do feel as though, well, you know, my baby's gonna be pretty because, you know, she's gonna be mixed. Whether you're a black woman dating a white man or vice versa. Some people do have that mentality. That bothers me a lot because you don't have to have mixed children in order for them to be beautiful.
Right.
No. My baby is beautiful.
Right.
And she's with a black man. Her father's a black man. Right. So, you know, that whole mentality thing, you know, this topic kind of bothers me.
Well, you know, because I don't want to go too deep.
Hey, do it.
But it bothers me, America.
I think it creates a division. Like I said, I'm dark skinned and I love being dark skinned. I ain't scared of I've never been intimidated by a light skinned chick or somebody who's mixed or whatever, because I've always been comfortable with who I am.
Right.
My mom is dark skinned, and I always thought my mom was very attractive. She always dressed nice. She wore her clothing well. She always put it together, and it was never about light or dark. Right. She just loved herself. So I think growing up, seeing that, I never, heard my mom compare herself to lighter women and she was just her. So growing up, I never compared myself to my friends, and a lot of my friends were lighter complexion than me. But we never had that issue as far as, oh, she's light, she's dark.
Because you didn't see anything different.
I just thought we were all the same. We all hung out. It was never, if somebody likes the lighter girls, that's your preference.
Right.
Somebody likes the, darker girls, that's their preference. I have all brothers. I grew up in a family full of males, so I like dark men. That's just me. Caramel, dark, but that's my preference.
Right.
It's weird because my daughter and my niece, they like them light. They like light-skinned boys. They like the really bright mixed ones. That's their choice. Right. I do know opposites attract. But that's just not what I prefer. Now, don't get me wrong. I've dated light-skinned guys. I've dated outside my race. But if I could have my choice is a chocolate man, caramel man. That's just, because that's what I grew up with. I got brothers and uncles and cousins that are brown, dark brown, real dark. And they're sexy, grown men that I'm like, ooh, that's what I grew up around. That's what I'm attracted to.
Right.
But it was never a complexion thing. So,
and I think people get preferences confused with diminishing somebody. Just because you have a preference doesn't mean the opposite is wrong. It just means that's what you like,
Right.
And I think what's interesting also is that this is not isolated to African Americans. I had a Malaysian roommate who said that they bleach themselves and do all kinds of things in Malaysia as well, because darker skin is not the thing.
Correct.
So I thought that was interesting. To find that out in college, like, really?
Mhm.
It's not just us.
Right.
No, it's not. There's a lot of Asian. I mean, there's a
Mexicans
lot.
as well.
Yes,
I
it's
have-
not. It's frowned upon to be darker skinned.
I had 2 Mexicans coworkers. I didn't know they were cousins. We worked together one time. One of them I was a little bit closer to, and she's like, "That's my cousin." I was like, "Oh wow!" I'm like, "You guys don't even talk. Like they barely interacted." And she's like, "Well, growing up, her family didn't allow her to play with her." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Because we were dark. Because she looks more Mexican, whereas her cousin, if you didn't know that she was Mexican, she looks more white. She had the blonde hair, the blue eyes." So I learned that there's a whole, like in Mexico, it's very segregated. Like the lighter, more Caucasian looking like Mexicans are treated more, more uppity. They're
Right.
treated in a different way. They don't want to interact with the ones that have more darker skin, who may look more Mexican, or their pigmentation is a lot darker.
Right, right.
Up until she started speaking Spanish, I would have never knew that she was Hispanic, and then find out they're first cousins. So it's kind of weird that they did not play together. This is a brother and sister's child, because his wife was lighter, and he married, and they had kids. Her kids looked white, with blue eyes, even though they were fully blooded Mexicans. The other one, she looks more Mexican. They didn't. I mean, we all hung out, but I never knew they were cousins. And when she told us that, she said to this day it altered their relationship, because as a kid, she couldn't come over our house. She couldn't play with them because no, you can't play with them.
And that's where it starts.
Right.
Like the difference between how your mom raised the family, she didn't make it a difference. You know, you are who you are, and that's it. But when a child is raised as such, that stigma is ingrained in you. You don't even realize it,
Right.
Until you get older, and then you're like, man, but it's ingrained in you.
Correct.
So it's hard to to turn that off.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
It is
My
absolutely.
daughter, she's only 7 months, but my husband and we're going to make sure we raise her to know that she is beautiful. She does not have to bleach her skin. She's not ugly. She's fine just the way that
Right.
you know what I mean, the way that she is. Because going to school, being a kid, sometimes you're like, oh, you see someone who's light skinned and they have longer hair than you, or their hair may be straighter than yours, or whatever the case may be. We're going to make sure she always knows that she's beautiful, that the way
Right.
she is.
Regardless.
But I also dug a little deeper. On News One, they had it where, and this is way back in like 1995 or so.
Right.
But it was a prison in North Carolina,
Mhm.
and they had to where if you were light skinned in prison, you got a lesser sentence. If you were dark skinned, you got a longer sentence.
Wow.
Yeah, I did some heavy
Oh, definitely.
research. I was like, seriously, they said if you were light skinned,
Mhm.
your sentence was cut down. If you were dark skinned in prison, you got a longer sentence. And I feel like they did that only because they see some dark skinned people, like I said before, as a threat.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But in prison, I didn't, that's illegal.
Yeah,
That's
of
illegal.
course.
But if they don't know, I mean, it's not like you go around. I mean, you go around. They
Right.
probably do go around talking about their sentences, but you don't compare. Like,
Yeah,
You don't know,
why
and they
are
probably
you,
do that
you
at
know.
sentencing. Like,
Right.
oh, he's 3 years, he's dark, give him 5.
Right.
They're probably adding it on when they're doing the sentencing versus like they're not waiting. Like, okay, well, we're gonna add 2 years. No, they're probably getting it in the gate from based on what they look like in court.
That's horrible, and that's that stigma that's placed on darker skin, like you said, darker skinned people. If the media or what's presented is every time there's a threat or there's violence that this is this darker skinned person, that's what people just don't go with because that's what we do. You know what I mean?
It's unfortunate, but I mean, I think like you said, this started a long time ago, back in slavery days, where the darker complexion, men and women, if you were dark skinned and you worked outside, or if you were in the kitchen, kind of like not seen. If you were lighter complexion, then you could be the maid or you could serve the food. Even like on behind the scenes, darker women that were attractive, dark skinned. You
I
could
was
be in
just
the
gonna
whorehouse.
say that. I was just gonna say
I could have
that.
been in the whorehouse.
That's why there
I
were
couldn't
so
have been in the
many
front house,
brown
but you
babies
were-
that
right.
were
So
slave
it's
master
like
babies.
you're dark. We're not gonna put you outside, but we're definitely not gonna put you in the house. So you're kind of like in the in between house. So when guests would come, the darker women. I mean, it had some of the lighter ones too, if they had maybe a scar or some type of look or disfigurement going on with themselves, they can still work in the whorehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not out in the burning heat sun all day, plowing or picking cotton, whatever. But you can be used physically, but you just can't be seen in the front house. So it's one of those things that I think this started long before us and our grandparents and our grandparents. It goes back to that whole mindset, like lighter is better because white was better than dark. And then it just kind of spilled over to the lighter skin, darker skin. Because I feel like this: if you black, you black. I don't care how light, how dark, you're black.
And that's what
That's
any
just
race.
it.
You are what you are.
Because I'm black because I'm darker, but you black because
It's
you just, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no black, or it's just you black or you white, or Hispanic or whatever it is that you may be. And I don't think it makes a difference because you can be dark and be a certain type of way. You can be light and just as conniving. Your character is based off the person, not the skin. So it's unfortunate, but
they have on TMZ some celebrities that they're dark skinned, but when they do like their cover photo shoots and all that, they're trying to lighten up their skin on TMZ. Y'all go home, check it out. America, go on TMZ.
Go.
This is all facts. Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father, love Beyonce, big fan. Her father stated that the reason she has the career that she has now
because she's light,
because of the color of her skin, by her being light. And I was just kind of like, I think she's talented overall. She could have been dark skinned and still,
they compare the two.
Been talented.
They said
but that was just him being straightforward.
That really was straightforward.
Yeah. They compared the two. They said Kelly's career did not do as well because she's not as light as Beyonce. And for years, I thought Kelly's voice was Beyonce's voice until she did the song with Nelly. I was like, oh, Beyonce did a song with Nelly. It was like, no, that was Kelly's voice. So in a lot of the songs that they did together, that was Kelly's voice that I thought was Beyonce's voice. Really? It was Kelly's, but then once they kind of split, and then you look at their career, Beyonce's career took off. Kelly's didn't. I don't want to blame it all on complexion because I think that the fact that when your dad's the manager, your mom is the choreographer,
there's a lot of aspects to that.
I don't care what they say. They're gonna always push for their child.
Right.
They're always bet. I don't care if your niece, close friend, goddaughter, whatever. They're never gonna place you before their own. So I do think some of that played a part. But I think Kelly's beautiful. I think she has a nice complexion. I don't think she needs to lighten her skin. I think a lot of these artists, they were talking about a lot of these rappers nowadays that are coming out. Even Nicki Minaj is lightening her skin. All these rappers are lightening their skin. But then what happened to Remy Ma and Foxy Brown and all of them when back in the day they were rapping? They didn't lighten their skin. So is it today's social media making it feel like you need to be lighter? Because that was an era in the 90s, 2000s where these were rappers. Eve didn't lighten. Eve was brown skin, but she didn't lighten her skin.
Right.
And they were successful. Rod Digger, they were all brown skin, dark skinned women, and they made it. But now today's you have the Nicki Minaj, you have the Cardi B's, you have what is the other young girl name? She looks like she's Puerto Rican or some kind. I just watched her video.
I can't remember.
But it's so many that's out now that they're lighter or they're they look mixed or something, and it's like, oh, they're pushing them. Not as many dark skinned women, but I don't think it's all about complexion. I think a lot of it has social media.
I was gonna say I think there's a lot of factors. Not saying that that's not part of it, but I think there's a lot of factors
that goes into it. Yeah.
But there have been 2 documentaries that I know of on Netflix, and one is about dark girls, and then one more recently came out about lighter skinned girls. And they basically talk about their experiences. They have really young girls on there that talk about what things that happen in school and things like that. And I thought it was interesting when I watched the one for lighter skinned girls, the violence that occurred with them and other complexions, like automatically assuming that they thought they were better than somebody else or trying to physically hurt them so they didn't look as pretty as they thought. So I feel like it's both sides, but when you're on one side, you only see it from that way. Correct. So it was an interesting perspective, and I'm glad that they did both documentaries and it wasn't just about one side, because I think both all complexions experience their own type of discrimination, their own type of violence or harassment based just on who they are. We have kids that it's not about their complexion that experience it, but I think that was very interesting. And it was eye-opening for me because even though like you've had, just like people talk about darker skinned girls, you have people talk about, oh, she light skinned, she thinks she's this or she thinks she's that. And that more than likely ain't the case, but because that's your stigma, that's your perception of it, you automatically assume that. And then there's people that go further and actually want to try to physically hurt these people or try to, demean them or make themselves feel better by making them, putting them down, So I think we need to start within ourselves, within our households, figuring out what we want as opposed to letting the media guide us into what's right, what's wrong, what's cool, what's not. Because I think that plays a huge part in a lot of the stuff that we go through, especially when it comes to physical features and complexions and things like that. The media doesn't get to tell us that. You know what I mean? We live this life. Right. Okay, they can, give us information, but it's up to us to take that and use it how we need to use it,
They had on, also on TMZ, they interviewed Nia Long. Okay. And she stated how she bought some Dove products. And this was a long time ago. Right. And on the product it said normal to black skin. Or normal to dark skin. That's what it said. And
product like lotion.
It was the body wash.
Right. Interesting.
This was on TMZ. And they interviewed her. I used stuff too. I went and I looked. I'm like, what is this? I'm looking for it.
Better not be saying the wrong thing. You lost the customer now.
But wait, so they showed it on TMZ. They were interviewing her. And they showed the body wash. It said normal to dark skin. And she was saying, okay, what makes my skin not normal? You know what I'm saying?
But
But they had a commercial also. I didn't know about the commercial, but they had a commercial out as well representing Dove. And it was a black lady. And they had the Dove. I never seen it. I just looked at it. It was a black lady. And they had the Dove body wash right there. And she lifted her shirt up. And then she turned into a white woman.
Yep.
It was like she put on the lotion and...
You know what I'm saying? So
here I
am. Okay.
I
did not see this, so I'm definitely gonna be Googling this. But what is that saying? Like, what message was Dove?
So pretty much the commercial was just saying, for lack of a better phrase, if you're dark skinned, if you use the Dove product, it'll help lighten up your skin.
And let me give Dove. There were multiple women in that commercial, all shades, but you saw the actual commercial? Yes, there were multiple women of all shades in that commercial, but that was the only black girl that turned into a white girl. You know what I mean?
I guess that's where I get confused at, because I can see where they're saying like it makes your skin soft, all of that thing, but when you have a black woman put on Dove and then she takes her shirt off and she's white, that can be received in so many. That's
exactly.
And
that's their job. That's their job to think
about
about that stuff. So even if they weren't intending to do that, that's their job. Right. So you offended somebody, you need to fix it. Definitely. And I think they took it down. So
they offended a lot of people.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It was just insulting.
Because as somebody, as an esthetician, skin is not about color. It's about just your skin and your texture. Someone may have dry skin.
Right.
You may have oily skin. You may have combination skin. Some people are very sensitive. Some people are sensitive in only certain areas. So using a soap has nothing to do with your complexion. Right. So if they're trying to say the soap adds, moisturizer, that's not a complexion thing. That's just skin. So the fact that they made her white when she took off the shirt gives a completely different message than as far as if their product is to help the skin.
I went right into my bathroom. I'm looking like, okay, wait a minute.
You already know. I'm going Dove.
But you know how many products that I've known of that my family has used or that are popular that have bleaching agents in them? There are so many face creams. There's so much lotion.
I learned is Asian products. Asia has a big thing about.
Absolutely, they do.
Have you noticed in Japan and Asia they always have the models with the really they're almost pale white.
Their makeup. They
because
makeup
in
too.
Their country, that's the complexion they want to be. Mm-hmm. The brighter, the lighter. So if you notice, they have the pretty robes and the cute little hair with the pin things in it. Yep. But their faces look almost like they're pale. Yeah. Because in Asia, 90% of their products have bleaching ingredients in it. Mm-hmm. When I was in school to be an esthetician, I had a lady. She was doing the same thing. She was Asian. Her face stayed flush red. She could not understand. So what our teacher did, she said, bring me your products. Let me see what you're washing your face with. Everything she used had bleaching in it. And it was the one thing she did not need on her face. So when she stopped using the products, that redness she showed us 10 years back, she always had her face full, just looked like she just was blushing all the time. It was her products. Everything that they sold, from her facial wash to her moisturizer, all had bleaching ingredients. So she stopped using them, and her face to this day, she knows. Matter of fact, I just ran into her at a gas station a few weeks ago. She doesn't have it anymore because she was buying Korean products because she thought, okay, well, no, but all of their products, 90% of them have bleaching ingredients
Korean
because
products.
in their country, light is better.
That goes back to, may he rest in peace, Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Who bleached his skin because he felt like he was ugly.
Yeah.
I thought he was okay the way,
He was.
he was handsome, he was decent, but he didn't think that way.
Right.
And I think, he went a little too far with,
Correct.
the bleaching
They said he
of
had
his skin.
vitiligo. I remember being in class during our aesthetic class, and our teacher, he puts it up there, and I'm like, he's like, oh, he did have a little bit. I'm like, Michael Jackson was not, if he had it, in a couple spots, that was not, he was not like, you can see the drastic difference. Because he was like, oh, over time, his face, you're not fit to sell me this.
You
I
said,
said, I'm
oh,
talking
once-
about Mike in 85.
Oh, at once you said.
Not 92, the one that became light skinned and got lighter and lighter and lighter. You're not about to tell me that this one little light spot made his whole body. He was lighter than Lisa Presley that he was married to. Like, are you for real? Like, no. Like, that's bleaching. That's full body bleaching.
But I can imagine the stress, especially somebody
Oh,
that's
of
at
course.
that status. Like,
But-
can you imagine?
Doing a little research, and since you brought up Michael Jackson, the Jackson family, other than, I think it's Randy, that's the oldest one, Jackson, they all married like Malaysian and Assyrian women because they wanted lighter kids.
And see, that's what I was
If
saying.
you see their family, like a family tree of them right now, other than, I think it's not Randy, it's Tremaine
Okay.
Jackson's son, who's more brown. All the kids look like they look like the Kardashians. Because I think, what are they, Assyrian? I believe they're Assyrian. Whatever they are. I know two of the brothers, like their wives are either Assyrian, but none of their wives are white. They're all of another nationality. When you see their kids are all mixed or look like they're more of another nationality, not black.
So I started like looking at these bleaching agents and these creams and things like that people use. And I can't remember what documentary it was I was watching, but it's really big in Africa. They are really, some areas, not all areas, are really big on social media, social influences. So they try to look like lighter skinned women that they see in social media. I used to get my hair braided a lot. So I would go to African shops. They would play African movies, and the lead lady was always light skinned. Always. Every time. It never failed. She was always light skinned. All of their products, all of them had some type of bleaching agent in it. Anything they sold. Anything.
About the women in the shop, the African women in the shop?
They were all different shades.
Right.
But like you just saw it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was really interesting because I didn't think it was, you always think it's like, okay, this is just African American people, because we're in it, so we see it. But it's prevalent, and I think sometimes it's more prevalent in other areas. But I just thought that was really crazy that everything from stuff that you wouldn't even, like, why does that have a bleach agent?
Well,
You know what I mean?
Back
You
to
wouldn't
not
think
just
of it.
social media, but just even think about all the actresses over the years. What is it? Dionne Warwick. What was one of my favorite ones? Carol. Oh God, why can't I remember her name? She's a big time actress. These are older actresses.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't know.
They were nominated for Oscars, nominated for Tony Awards, nominated for Emmys. They never won. Dorothy Dandridge was the first black, which Dorothy Dandridge is mixed. the second black woman to ever win it. Oscar, I believe she was the first African American woman, will be Hollywood. So when you say black women, of course they're black, whether they're mixed or not. When you have black, you're black. You know, that's just the way they determine it. But they're fair skinned, they're very light. They can pass for mixed. They are mixed, but they can pass for another nationality. They don't necessarily have to say they're black. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know off the top like she's black. You feel like she's mixed with something. Those are the women that won the actual awards. Now you've had your Angela Bassett, you've had your Taraji Henson, you've had all shades of other black women who have been nominated, but they didn't win.
And there's what's interesting is there are women before, I can't remember her last name, first name was Hattie, but there are women before that did win, but they did not publicize it. They had to get it in a whole nother room, whole nother building, behind the scenes. They didn't even get to be shown or publicized, which is crazy.
Because it goes back to that, back in the slavery days, when slavery became, they abolished the whole slavery thing, it still left that stigmatization on us that lighter is black. I mean, is lighter is better, darker is not. And that's just the way it is. I had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine, and one of the guys is dark. And I was telling my guy that certain things he went through, because not him, but his friend, because he was dark. And he's going back and forth, no, it's not the same. So when we were sitting all down, he said, yeah, him being dark skinned, he was, for girls see you, like back in our days when we were growing up, girls see you, the dark guy got picked on. I remember like dark guys were not in. Like growing up, you had the Albie Shore, the light skin. Everybody wanted the light skinned guy that looked really cute, the DJ Quick looking guy. And then you kind of had to change on the music scene. Wu-Tang, what was the other guy? It was a lot of darker rappers started kind of like coming out. And that's when the darker rappers became in. I remember Lauryn Hill hit the scene. I love Lauryn Hill because she was like that. Her and Gabrielle Union for the acting side, her for the singing. When they kind of hit the scene, it was like, oh my God, dark skinned girls was in. Like, oh, you're dark. Like, it was like thumbs up. Before that, it was like, you kind of, depending on what setting you were in, you might be shaded a little bit because you're darker, or you might be, I guess you're all right. But once you had like people like Gabrielle Union, making appearances in big movies in Hollywood, you have Lauryn Hill, who's like killing the music charts. That's when it seemed like the stigmatization of the dark-skinned girl became kind of like removed, and we became like the new in thing. So
which is still,
and that's crazy that it just happened. But I remember that. Like, I remember myself. Like, I was a huge fan of just Lauryn Hill because I loved her music. But I was so happy for Lauryn Hill because, like, I wanted to be like Lauryn Hill because
you saw something that looked like
I could relate to her because she was like the new it. She was winning awards. Everybody thought she was so pretty. They was praising her. Yeah. And you did not see a lot of darker women being praised. Like, I mean, wasn't that they couldn't? You just didn't see it. We knew of plenty, but when you saw Lauryn Hill on the covers of the magazine, she was winning all these awards. She was like the new it girl. It was like, oh, light, come here, dark, because now this is what everybody's watching. The dark skinned girls, media. Well, we didn't have social media, but the MTV, BET, those were who they were praising. Then black girls became, or darker skinned girls became the it thing.
Right.
So
that's why I don't necessarily agree with what Matthew Knowles said, stating that how Beyonce's career wouldn't be where it was if
I definitely couldn't get placed.
Her skin, it plays a part, but
he was behind the
scenes. It's just kind of
I hear guys all the time. They say things that are so raised up. Like if you could just be sitting around, we're around guys, and they'll be like, all the light skin women, whatever. I'm looking at like, oh, I thought she all right. I thought girl number 2 was really pretty.
But that's psychologically ingrained too, because guys, look at all the movies before in the 70s and the 60s, when a guy got on, they found a girl from a different nationality, a different race,
white or she was white.
Pretty much. That's pretty much. And that's when you were on. That's when you had money. I went and found her because she wants me. That means I made it. Right. So that I feel like comes back from racism too. Not racism, slavery. Slavery too. Like that was the thing. White was in. So they felt like if I got somebody that was close to that or that, then I've made it. You know what I mean? Not even realizing that they were doing that. And that.
And I think
affects us too.
And I think it's just like an old mindset. You just, even though we're not teaching that to our kids, and it probably wasn't really taught to us, but I know definitely in the 70s, when my parents were coming up, 60s and 70s, there was still a big, division amongst light and darks. So even though they didn't pass it down to us, I mean, fast forward a few generations ahead, you now have us and our kids, but that was something that it was okay. They had lived that way all their, my parents are originally from Mississippi, so they're used to black-white. Even once, like I said, racism had been, not racist, but slavery and stuff had been gone years ago, but it was still very divided. So I think a lot of the older generation, this is the norm to them because they grew up, where the dark skin was at the back. And then the brown ones, were treated a little bit different. We are a little bit different because we're that today's time. People now speak out against it. Like, no, I'm just as good as she. Doesn't matter what skin complexion you are. But that's now. A lot of the things that we're seeing and that's happening now wasn't happening 10 years ago. Wasn't happening 15 years ago.
So you think things have gotten better since then?
I think a lot of the issues are being addressed now. A prime example, this whole R. Kelly thing. Everybody's like, R. Kelly. R. Kelly was doing that when I was 14, 15 years old. He's not doing anything different. Nothing has changed. He's always prayed. I remember when he married, I remember showing my mom, like, oh my God, Mom, look, he married Aaliyah. She was 15. I followed her first album, AJ and Another Thing. I remember seeing that. So we fast forward to 2019. Now he's dating at 19, 18. What's the difference? He hasn't changed. It's just that it's become a problem because more people see it. And they've known all these people. He's continuing.
He was continuing to do it.
Oh, I'm not working with him no more. Well, you should go working with him in the 90s because he was doing that in the 90s. I mean, and he just made good music, so it was like people turned a blind eye. So it's one of the things with race. It's always been that whole division of light, dark, for years. It's just people are saying something about it now. And you're hearing it. People are voicing their opinions on social media or on, talk shows. So once it becomes in the forefront, they kind of have to address it. So now you see commercials, you see the light, you see the dark, you see a combination of all complexions on commercials. You didn't see that like that. You would see dark skin on commercials and some light, but now you see a variety in commercials all the time that you did not see 10 or 15 years ago because I guess it was an issue, but it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Once it's been brought to the forefront, now it's being addressed.
I feel like it's still an issue. I appreciate that we see more variety of people in general, but I feel like it's still there. I feel like the moment people speak up, it's like, okay, let's put her in there. Go ahead, so we can shut people up.
Right.
And then we go back to doing what we were doing. Or we do a Dove commercial where we turn a black girl into a white girl and be like, oh, I didn't know. You know what I mean?
But I wonder how that would have been received if the white girl had turned into a black girl.
Exactly.
That's
things like that.
I wonder how that would have been.
And it's really subliminal, so it's like, oh no, we didn't mean to do that. Did you? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how would we know because we weren't there?
At least now we're able to speak out,
I appreciate that.
Because it was just so quiet back then. Now we got a voice.
Yeah.
We got a voice.
That's why a lot of the issues are being addressed. Because I think at this point, can you really stop America from believing some of the things that's been embedded in us for decades and decades and decades? Can you? Like, I thought we were doing good when we got Obama in. I remember being in my living room when he won. Like,
bless your heart.
We did it. Like, well, I'm sure they gonna respect us now. But then you get, 8 years with Obama, and then you get Trump, and it's like, wow, it's a whole lot of racism still going on in America. I thought we had, I thought we were beyond that, but this little, he been in there for 3 years. In 3 years,
yeah,
like,
we're not even gonna get at no.
I'm not gonna even.
Let's
move.
You've seen
We're not gonna go. A lot of the things that we thought had kind of gone away or we had moved past has resurfaced. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that I don't know if we'll ever be able to get rid of the whole dark and
probably not.
No,
probably
but
won't get
I
rid
definitely
of it.
think you should instill your. I tell my daughter and my nieces and kids. I tell them all the time because she ain't with a friend. It doesn't matter. It's about, the person. It's about what you know. Because at the end of the day, when you go to apply for a job, they don't know what color you are. Mm-hmm. And nowadays with all the names they got and making up, it's hard to tell what a person's nationality is. And I do like the fact that they are like taking some of those questions off about, are you black? Are you this? Are you that? So it should just be based off experience, educational credentials. That's it.
Right.
My color, what I look like, shouldn't matter. Light, dark, whatever. I don't think if you're pretty. We had a conversation about that. Do you think people get jobs based off of looks? I say no, but then I have to think about it. I'm sure I got some jobs based off of
Absolutely.
like, okay, she's cute, she's something to, it's easy on the eye, like they said.
Absolutely.
And it's unfair because I hope that I wouldn't have gotten a job that somebody else was more qualified for because you're more attracted to them. But that's the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
People believe it's like it's what they see. She looks this way.
And it's funny you say that because you could be light skinned going into a job with, not too much of experience and be dark skinned and have the experience but still not get hired because you're dark skinned, which is really sad.
Right. Now they're turning people down for locks. They're turning people down for if your hair looks a certain way and they don't know if they can do too Afrocentric, if it's the wrong color. I mean, they turning kids away from schools, telling parents they can't have their kids in school if their braids are too long or if their locks are too long or if they have locks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
but then in the same term, you see all the other stuff. Because I remember, like you said, locks, braids, that was more Afrocentric or kind of. Now you see them, they got pink hair, blue hair, they tatted up whole sleeve. Okay, you got on the shirt that comes here, but I can tell your whole arm, your whole neck, now it's okay. Right. I remember when I started my job, I wasn't for sure if that would be a problem because it's a law firm with my ring. So I was like, I'll take it out if need be. And they were like, no, it's fine. The girl that was sitting in front of me, she had pink hair, nose ring, whatever. I was like, oh, okay. But because somebody's already there doing it in another nationality, it was okay. Now, I'm in that position. I wasn't for sure if it was going to be frowned on. So they was like, no. I said, color hair. They was like, no. Change your hair off if you want to. So if I want to be blue, pink, yellow, if it's okay for other nationalities to do it, it's okay. They said just make sure it's tasteful.
So that's the same thing with locks, Afrocentric clothing, all of this stuff that's got normalized. Right. Now it's okay. Now it's cool.
Yeah,
and it's social media too. I mean, I think you said it plays, a part.
Definitely. If it's okay on social media, then it becomes okay with the norm. If it's bad, it's like frowned upon on social media, then all of a sudden it seems like everybody's frowning on it.
So. And that's why it's up to us to make our own decisions individually, because individually we make up a group of people.
Exactly.
So I feel like if we individually make our own decisions and not base it on what a large group of people think, I feel like that will minimize that. I don't think it'll ever take it away because it's been a number of years where people have been separated for the benefit of whatever. But I think we deserve, you know what I mean, for our families, for ourselves to make our own decisions and not base it on that.
Of course.
So.
But of course we know that influence, always peer pressure, influence what you see at school, that all plays a part. I mean, regardless of how much you instill in your kids, you tell them they go to school, they're in a different environment, and what these kids think is cool and what's in is what's in. And if they don't think that's what you're doing or the way you look or dress is in, then you're kind of shaded, outcast. So it's one of those things that I think as a parent, you teach your kids be your own individual, and you kind of just keep pushing that in them because you can't stop the social circles that they're in, and unfortunately, that's important to them. When you're 12 and 13, 14, 15 years old, that social media and your friends, it's important to you. To us, it's like, them little girls, you ain't even gonna be friends with in 5 years from now. That's apparent, but to them, like, what they think and say is real important to them.
I don't know
finding yourself at that age.
I don't know if you ladies look at Love and Hip Hop, but on Love and Hip Hop, they had where Spice. She was very serious about it. Where she wanted to bleach her skin. She didn't bleach it yet, but she did the makeup to see how she would look, and I thought that she looked beautiful. Her skin tone is beautiful. She's a dark skinned woman, and I felt as though she was beautiful the way she is. But she honestly really wanted to bleach her skin.
Bring awareness to it.
Yeah, bring awareness to it. And I was just watching. I'm like, I hope she don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I hope she doesn't do it because she was finding a way to,
But she was making a point, and I think, and that's how that conversation started with a friend of ours. Like, anyone who's brown skinned or light skinned cannot understand the position of somebody who's dark skinned. I don't care. You grew up wherever, you would never understand what it feels like to sit in our seat and be our complexion if you're a lighter complexion. And if that means just getting your name called first in class, then those are certain things. Being able to pick your seat, things like that. I remember just once, when you start thinking back about it, I remember little things just happening growing up over the years that I never thought was really racially, connected, but it really was. Mm-hmm. So anyone who is dark skinned, be it man, woman, whoever, if you've been on that side, you were dark skinned growing up in America, you experience some form of differences because of your light or dark, or even just the jokes. It was always a black joke, something regarding your complexion. Somebody else, they're talking about their feet. Why is it always about my complexion? Mm-hmm. It was like being dark was like a negative, and it was something that was always picked on. So I believe most people are, I can't speak for all, but anyone who's dark skinned can sit on this side and probably went through something that somebody light skinned did not encounter due to the fact of their complexion.
And I think, and not diminishing at all what you're saying, because I think it's true, and I think that's on the flip side too, because I can't imagine having that stigma and preference put on you as a lighter skinned person when I don't want that. I'm just trying to be me.
Right.
Now you putting me ahead. I want to be friends with this dark skinned girl.
Right.
I don't want that. Like, I don't want that pushed on me. So I can't imagine either side having to deal with that weight.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
it's like even just growing up, and I would just remember like saying we could all be out, and it's like they remember name. Oh, the dark skinned girl. Like, why did you have
the first thing, right?
Why does everything have to be associated with the complexion? Like I got on red. Why can't you say the girl with the red shirt?
Right.
It's
right.
just anybody that
Why do they go
always
for that first?
Right.
It was always something with our skin. Black this, black that. Like I said, that comment, oh, you're pretty to be dark. I used to, like, people have no idea. I used to cringe when we would hear that.
I still hear it now.
They said, like, oh, your little black self. I'm like, thank you.
You cute to be dark.
I still hear it now.
I remember, oh my God, this is so funny. I remember being out with some friends. We were out, and this guy walks up to me, and he says, normally, I don't do this. Normally, I don't talk to dark-skinned women. But for you,
really?
I'd make an exception.
Oh.
I said, oh, don't do me no favors.
Did you throw your drink in his face?
No, don't do me no favors.
How sweet of you. Like,
because I wouldn't dare want you to stoop down to my little old level to talk to my little dark skinned self. Like, don't do me no favors. He has no idea. I was so offended. Like, are you kidding me?
I normally don't talk to dark skinned women.
But for you, I'll make an exception. For you, I'm not making an exception. And if you like, I just was like, what? Like, of course, you're young at that time. I was just like, ugh. Because at that point, I was so disgusted with him. Like, and the fact that he said it, and he was he was a good looking guy, but he was confident. Like,
he meant what he said.
Meant every word of it. And what's so ironic is that his mom is dark skinned. So sometimes like the opposites attract, but that is not what you say to a woman. Like, I didn't want no more conversation with him. So a friend of me was like, it's crazy because his mom is dark. So maybe he had a thing for dark skin, but he always dated like. But you don't walk up to a woman and say that, like.
But there had to be some woman that felt privileged by him saying that, or she wouldn't have came to you to say.
Well, he probably shouldn't stop to be because.
I'm glad he did
so
stop with you.
You're not gonna give me your number? No, I don't want to talk to you. Like, I'm not even interested. And the fact that you felt like you did me a favor, like normally I don't. Well, don't do it today.
Right.
Today's not the day to give out a pass.
He needed to come in contact
it's
with you.
It's good that he did meet you.
Yes.
And I didn't give his number, so that was even more like, what? Like, are you for real?
Like, you really not? No, I'm not.
Because his ego was so high that he thought that because he was, cute, light, that, talking to his little dark skin girl, I was supposed to be like, oh my God, look at him. Oh my God, if you don't get on my face.
Right.
And he probably was so used to women thinking that was maybe cute or just being okay with it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had that happen. We was outside not too long ago, and the guy was like, I know you checking for me because he was light skinned. No, but I ain't looking at you. I'm looking past you because, first of all, I'm not a complexion person. I'm not in there like, ooh, the light. But the fact that he cut me off, we walking through, and he made that like, I know you looking for me. I'm light skinned. Oh my God. I said, oh wow, you one of them. Laughed and kept it moving because in his mind, and maybe in the area where he lived, he thought, I'm light. I got good hair.
I'm light, I'm right.
Yeah, no. She's ready. Yeah, you didn't see me. I see you. Excuse me. Move out the way. I can get past you.
Right.
But
people still say that now. I've seen people like, oh, my chocolate baby. It's like,
I want to have me a little black baby. I just be like, ooh.
It's just your baby.
I don't think complexion matters because if they think
it shouldn't matter, but for
lighter is prettier, better. I've seen some not so attractive light skinned people, and I've seen some not so attractive dark skinned people and brown skin. So it doesn't really matter,
right?
Because just because your skin complexion is lighter does not necessarily mean you're prettier.
Right.
Or you're better looking,
Right.
you know. And I've seen some kids that's mixed and ain't so cute. You know, sometimes you mix it don't
That's the
work.
problem that I have.
True,
People
true,
think
true.
that in order to have beautiful, some people think
Yeah. a lot of
that in
people
order to
think
have
that.
beautiful kids, they have to be mixed. Wrong.
But you can sometimes mix them and they may, you know, just because
Yeah,
you
mix-
start mixing up stuff, you got a little cute monster, you know. So I don't really think, but that's the person that's vain. Because as a mom, I know when I was pregnant, I wasn't thinking like, oh my God, I hope my baby come out light or dark or whatever. I was hoping my baby came out with 10 toes,
Yeah.
10 fingers, 2 eyes.
Just healthy.
Yeah.
You know,
You know
the
what I'm saying?
basic necessities, you know, that you want your child to have. I wanted her to be, you know, functioning well. I wanted her not to have no mental illness or no sicknesses. There's so many things you can think about when you're pregnant. I am not thinking about, oh my God, is she cute? Because if it's ugly, I got to love this little ugly little baby. You my ugly little baby. You know, so, I mean, that's what you, as a parent,
Yeah.
you just love your child. But
You're
I never
supposed to.
sat and
Yeah.
drilled on like, oh, she gonna be cute. You know, like, I was just happy that
Yeah.
she was healthy. You know,
Right.
but
Now, when I was pregnant, I always wanted like her she would look like me.
Right.
It's
Now
gonna
that's
like,
normal.
you know,
though.
right.
That's
My
normal.
husband,
They
she
should
go
get better
through
features,
personality. She
Right,
like, you
right,
know.
right.
I hope she get my lips, my shape. You know,
I did that, but as far as like her skin, I just, you know,
right.
I
Complexion was
didn't
something
care.
I was, yeah.
I didn't care at all. Wow, this was really. We could go on and
Yeah,
on.
all
It's so,
the
it goes
time.
even. It could go
Yes,
even
yes,
further.
yes,
yes.
But let's get to our sisterly love segment. Miss Kendra, who we gonna acknowledge?
So
Today.
I thought this person would be awesome for the topic because she's one of those people who went through a lot of this in Hollywood. So I've chosen to do Viola Davis, who is one of my
Yes,
favorite
I love
actresses.
her.
Yes.
And her birthday's August the 11th. So
Oh,
happy belated birthday
happy
to her.
birthday.
Yeah. So Viola, who is, those who don't know who Viola is, Davis is, she's the lady that plays lead role in How to Get Away with Murder. She
Mhm.
played in The
One
Help.
of my favorite shows.
She's played in quite a few movies. Grew up, born and raised in South Carolina. She grew up in Rhode Island poor. Her dad was a horseman groomer, so he used to groom the horses. And she just always took a liking to the arts field. Went to college, went to high school, graduated, and she got into Juilliard and graduated in 1998. She has what they call the Triple Crown of actors and actresses, and black actresses, because she's won an Oscar, an Emmys,
Mhm.
and a Tony's. No other black woman has ever done it. We've been nominated,
Bravo.
but she broke that barrier as a black woman, but as a dark-skinned black
Yes.
woman,
Mhm.
she was the first. So big ups to
Nice.
Viola Davis.
Yes, we salute you, Miss
It was
Viola
her.
Davis.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
And I thought she would definitely fit well with this topic because she faced a lot of scrutiny in Hollywood because she was dark. She got turned down from a lot of roles because of her complexion, but she didn't give up. She kept fighting. So she has the triple crown. She's definitely one of the big kahunas in Hollywood.
Awesome.
Yay.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. My vision is not too good, but whoever tuned in, thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you.
watching, listening in. Please reach out to us on Facebook at Chatty Caddies. Also, reach out to us on Instagram at
Yes.
Chatty_Caddies_. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
And if you guys have any topics, because we're always looking for suggestions. If y'all got something you want to talk about,
Please
inbox
reach
us.
out.
Let us know.
Reach
and
out
we
to
will,
us, yes.
discuss it on the show. We always like feedback from our fans. That always comes in handy when we're looking for something juicy to talk about. You guys may
And
have an
love
idea.
yourself. Love
Yes.
who
Yes.
you are.
Light, dark, white, black,
Don't matter.
doesn't matter.
Love
who you are. Be who you are. Live your truth. And that's
Yes,
just
yes, yes. Love it.
Yes, all right. Can you stop it?
I can.
Thank you guys. Tune in to the radio show in a little bit.
I don't know how to stop it. How do I stop it?
It should be at the bottom corner. Her thing is still up. Like slide her that bird thing back if she can.
Okay,
You want to slide back?
Okay.
Sorry,
'cause I'm
y'all.
about to-
Technical difficulties.
Okay, this we gonna do. We just gonna cover this. I just got it covered, so you do whatever you need to do to stop it.